You are now rocking with the best. This is the Hall About Sports podcast with your host, the one and only Meg Hall. If you don't know, now you certainly know. It's co-host Kev in the building. Welcome to episode 14. We have a very special guest with us. We've got Mr. Justin Paden with us. And if you didn't know about Justin, he's a phenomenal talent with a big following to match. So, I've been trying to get into this YouTube thing. It's kind of like what we're doing right now with this podcast sort of thing. But Justin has mastered this and he's got an amazing following on YouTube. And what he does is he talks about his Celtics. So, and other basketball, of course. But Justin has come to mourn his Celtics because they are currently playing the Miami Heat. And it has not been pretty. You can hear Justin already like huffing and puffing and shaking his head. But Justin, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
I'm glad to be here. All about sports. I've been watching y'all. Y'all do a phenomenal work. So shout out to y'all. I'm just so glad to be here. So thank y'all so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So let's do a quick run of shows. So we're going to start with the starting lineup as we always do. Justin's going to tell us, how did this YouTube channel come to be? Like, where did this come from? And then we have a special segment for Justin called Boston No Tea Party, where we're going to talk about all the things that are happening with the Boston Celtics, good, bad, or ugly. And then we will, of course, do our favorite portion of the show, which is the post-game presser. So let's just get into it. Justin, how did you get your start and where did this YouTube channel come from? And by the way, the name of the YouTube channel is ItzJustJP and it's with a Z. So let's hear it. What's the story on it?
So I always been a fan of basketball and just love to just talk basketball to friends and everything. And I just felt like, during 2018 2019 I was like, I want to talk sports. I want to start a podcast and everything with like my friend. I started doing YouTube with my friend, just talking different stuff, with him on YouTube, and I just got fascinated with it. And then one of my friends was like, hey, you should like definitely do like a YouTube channel, just start talking basketball and all that. I said, you know what, you're right, because she's like, you know what you're doing. So I just started making a YouTube channel and started doing reactions because I'm a huge fan of reaction videos that I react to. And
Okay.
I just started, my first video was a Luka Doncic video, and I seen it was doing really well. And just looking at the science behind it and just, being able to just react to different things and just analyze the game fairly to give, the public what they need and all that, instead of giving them biased opinions and all that. And just kind of keep growing and just keep, just doing things, and then just start making more connections to people that know basketball and just learn from the best of them. And man, I'm just blessed and thankful just to have like a following and a platform, especially in different countries and in the US too as well. It's just phenomenal how much it took off. I didn't think it was going to take off this quickly. So
Okay. So we got a little comment that says, "What's up, Meg, Kevin, JP," which is really cool. Hey
what
Trey,
up,
what's going on? So I guess let me ask you this: did it take off during the pandemic? Is that when most of your like growth happened? Like, how did this growth come to be?
So basically, I started kind of gaining like a following when I talked about when I did a Larry Bird Ultimate mixtape for my reaction, because Larry Bird is one of my favorite players, and I see how much growth it has and everything. And I was like, you know what? And I love, talking old school basketball and reacting to it because I'm just a huge fan. So I was like, let me just react to some old school basketball. So I started doing Larry Bird. I started doing Michael Jordan. I seen the Michael Jordan thing took off. I did, more Larry Bird, more Michael Jordan. I did a LeBron versus Jordan video that really exploded off, almost at 100K and everything. And I was just like, wow.
Wow.
And I just kind of just try to stay consistent, on YouTube, making videos 3 or 4 times a week. And then I seen that, I was having like, success too as well over the in other countries overseas with the European basketball fans and everything. And I seen that really took off too as well. So, I just try to give the people what they want and what they want me to react to, and also what I feel like I want to react to, and give like a clear analysis of, what I feel, and just try to give public opinion and all. And it kind of just took off from there. And it's just been phenomenal.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Wow,
So
yeah.
is there somewhere that you want to take your show? Like, what would be the ideal scenario for your show? Like, what defines success for your YouTube channel and your shows?
Oh, that's a good question. I've been kind of back and forth with it. I've been talking with my wife. We just got married, so shout out to my wife.
Yeah, shout out to the wife.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
shout out to the wife. Thank you so much. So we've just been back and forth. It's like, how far you want to take your show? Do you want to see yourself in the radio show? Do you want to see yourself as like you still want to be a big figure, but you want to still be like behind the scenes and still do stuff like that? So it's just been back and forth with it. I could see myself doing like a radio daily show for like a big network one day and all that. Shout out to Chris from Hoop Spaces. He's on Amazon and with his daily show. I just kind of was like, I might do something like that. That would be pretty dope to do, or just be behind the scenes and still do my reaction videos, still be a regular human being, or maybe just find a chance to work in the, or maybe find a chance to get into the NBA and kind of partner with them in terms of content and stuff. Shout out to Kenny, that does House of Highlights and all that with his podcast and his reaction videos. I was like, I want to do something like that. So
okay. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, Kev is like, I'm loving all this. This is basketball over me.
You already got a new subscriber already. So
listen. Don't say I didn't ever do anything for you, Justin. I try. I do what I can. I'll be here all week. Thanks. All right. So tell me this: if you weren't doing basketball, what other sports would you be covering? Are you a fan of any other sports? That's the $1 million question.
So I am I'm also a huge fan of football. I love talking NFL and college football too as well. That was my first love was football. And then I'm a huge wrestling fan, so I could talk, WWE, AEW. I could talk wrestling. I do like a wrestling town segment. Shout out to Coach File with his podcast and all that. So I do a little bit of that. That's about it. I like other sports too. Enjoy, baseball and hockey sometimes. Just depend. Boxing I like. But football and wrestling would be like my next two sports that I really love instead of basketball. So
hey, if you're ever looking for a guest on a wrestling pod, give me a call.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, I got you.
That is not my wheelhouse. It's really not. My wrestling knowledge is very minimal. Like I can tell you like who Triple H is and The Rock and that sort of like that era, Undertaker, that kind of era of wrestling. But other than I will say this at Black Sports Business Symposium, like I did, AEW was there and I was really excited to kind of, Jade Cargill and some of the other folks that were there. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm into the 21st century now on wrestling. So had to get my bearings a little bit, but All right, cool. All right. So the main reason we had you come on the show was to talk about your Boston Celtics. And I'm gonna let you and Kev like chop this up because I feel like this is your bread and butter. So I created a section of the show called Boston, but it's no tea party, of course. The Miami Heat are up 3-0 on Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. And there are a few things that I just want to set the landscape here. So entering Sunday night, Miami was shooting 43% from three, which is crazy. Boston was only shooting 31. So they're effective, but not as effective as Miami. Miami was also, it looks like, draining 46% of those threes through the first 3 quarters of that game, which is also crazy. Gabe Vincent scored 29 points on 11 of 14 shooting, including 6 of 9 from deep, which is, again, the anomalies here. One final thought that I want to put out here is that Boston's fourth quarter offense was a major problem in the first 2 games. Definitely, I think also it improved like ever so slightly in the third game, but by that point, I think, the Heat were up like 25-30. So just, wanted to level set with you. Just as a precursor, when I talked to Justin the other day, there were lots of colorful words used to describe the play. No colorful language here, but I certainly understand if you're thinking those words by doing this, this session with Kev. So first question out to you is, how did this happen? How is Miami stifling Boston? And Justin, I'll start with you.
So the theme is the defense. The defense has been really putrid and not that great this series. If you look at the first game, they allowed 46 points in that third quarter to the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat look like Golden State Warriors, killing them on the transition threes, not getting back on defense, and then turning the ball over, which led to points of Miami. So the defense has been not that great and all that. The second game, Grant Williams poking the bell. Not really blaming Grant Williams for that because you got to bring some energy, you got to bring something. But the Heat went on a 24-9 run to end the game and everything. So it's just crazy how Miami just kind of just have an answer for Boston and all that. But the defense, and especially that third game, I mean, Boston's defense they just flat out quit. It was just not that great. It was just awful to watch and all that, and complaining about the fouls and everything, in that game, and not going back, hustling back on defense. They just kind of just gave up on that. So defense would be number one. Number two, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, especially in the fourth quarter. Jaylen Brown hasn't had a great series. He's been really awful, especially from the 3-point. He's 2 for 20, so that's pretty awful, and he's turning the ball over. But Tatum and Brown, especially in that fourth quarter, they just cannot get it done. And those are like your two best players. That's your top duo in the NBA, and they just can't stay consistent to be able to have great games together. That's the problem. Tatum, you'll see him take the most difficult shots, not driving into the hole or try to take easier shot selections and all. So he just takes difficult shots. Sometimes he makes them, sometimes he don't. And fourth quarter, I mean, the Miami Heat did really well adjusting, loading the ball, and he just can't get it done. He'll commit turnovers and he won't have any field goals at all. So he's just been terrible in the fourth quarter. He's just been very inconsistent. So both of them. And then number two, we don't really make any adjustments. We make bad adjustments. Like the last game, I mean, they put Derek White and started Robert Williams the third, and I was kind of baffled because Robert Williams the third has been our most consistent player. I was like, why not bench Al Horford and put Derek White in and be able to see if we can do something to give our defense some energy and some shooting. But they decided to go with Derek White and to start over Robert Williams, which I just didn't understand. So pretty much, I mean, just no adjustments, just bad adjustments by Missoula. And you just see Eric Spoelstra just running circles. I mean, running circles around Joe Missoula just because he's only a rookie head coach. So you're going to see growing pains and everything.
Wow. Let me say this before Kev even jumps in. Holy cow. Holy basketball, Batman. That was a breakdown. I was like, woo. I was like, that was, man. Okay. Yeah, that was a crazy breakdown. That just shows your knowledge right there. You just spouted that off the top of your head. No notes, no nothing. And I was like, man, I want to be like him when I grow up. Kev, what you got? How did this happen? Who is to blame for this?
I am thoroughly impressed. Now, I want to start by saying this is just a coincidence. I'm actually a Pacers fan, so I just happen to be wearing a Heat hat today. It matches with my outfit, so I apologize. I wasn't thinking ahead. But I will say, just to add, the turnovers I think have been a big one for me, especially in those fourth quarters, right? It's the worst combination to have bad defense and then sloppy offense because the Heat are shooting well above their rate from three throughout the entire series they have. And after the first game, I thought, okay, Boston's fine because Miami's not going to do this every game. They're just not. All right. However, as Justin points out, if they're not playing any defense, then maybe they're going to keep shooting at 43%. And so that was a big one with Miami. They're missing Hero. They're missing Oladipo, who was kind of out of the rotation, but immediately filled in when Hero came out and played pretty well. So, they're shorthanded, but in a way that kind of opened things up. I mean, we've seen Gabe Vincent come alive. That has been really big. Of course, yes. Jimmy Butler has done the heavy lifting. He's the one that gets all the roses, so to speak. But Gabe Vincent has made a name for himself in the playoffs. Absolutely. And but for me, really, the turnovers and the bad offense, I think that goes with the adjustments as well. I thought it was, I thought I saw a little bit of this out of Boston last year in certain fourth quarters where they get a little stagnant, maybe not run as many sets and get a little star dominant. And you'd see three guys just kind of standing around a little too much. That's what I loved. I loved what Malcolm Brogdon brought to the team because there's a guy who's looking to get to the rim. He's not looking to pass every time. And sometimes I feel like they get in these funks for long stretches of time. And I just really like to see Joe Mazzulla use more timeouts. That's another thing. We talk about coaching adjustments. I know it got brought up, but we need to use our timeouts. There's not a lot as a coach you can do to influence the game. Calling timeouts to stop runs is one of those things. So do that.
Justin, you look like you have thoughts.
Thank you. No, I agree 100% because I don't understand why you don't call timeouts. I understand you want to trust players in the situation and everything, but when you don't call a timeout, especially when they are like bleeding, and it just doesn't make no sense. And you did brought up the adjustment. They're not moving the ball. Like the best Boston Celtics team is when they're able to move the ball around and everything. We've seen game one, like Marcus Smart had like 10 assists in the first half and everything, just moving the ball around and getting people opportunities and all that. And then all of a sudden it just becomes like a one-on-one, like Tatum, you go ahead and play one-on-one. Jaylen Brown, go play one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes Marcus Smart does it, it just kind of cringes me. And also I forgot to mention the rebounding too. Even though game 3 we won the rebounding battle and everything, but it was at the same time. But the first 2 games we was getting out rebounded by Miami. They were out hustling and out rebounding us. Bam had 17 rebounds. I think it was in game 2, and that should not ever happen. Even though Boston's not a really great rebounding team, but I mean, you give credit to Gabe Vincent. Caleb Martin has been phenomenal. Yes. Duncan Robinson became Michael Jordan in game 3, just shooting the ball and just hitting layups and crossing over. And I mean, he just came out alive like an N1 mixtape. We just could not stop him and everything. Kyle Lowry has been phenomenal too with the charges and that he's been bringing to the table. Yeah, Jimmy Butler's been killing us, but Bam Adebayo like Shaquille O'Neal. The last game just won the post on the Boston Celtics. This is probably his best playoff series this year because he has been kind of inconsistent. This has been his best playoff series. So,
oh my gosh, that was funny. I did want to add something I heard earlier, and I think you mentioned it about the Celtics rebounding in game 3. Yeah, you were correct. They did out rebound the Heat. Crazy thing was they had 21 more rebounds in the Heat, and they just couldn't convert them. Like they couldn't do anything with them. I've never seen. Maybe I've not watched enough basketball in my life, but I don't think I've ever seen a situation in which you get 21 more rebounds than someone and you lose a game. Not only do you lose a game, but you lose it by a wide margin. So that just tells me like the offensive efficiency was just not there. So yeah, that's uncharacteristic for the Celtics. Very uncharacteristic. Holy cow.
And I agree. Yeah, most games the team that has 28 more rebounds or however many it was, usually they win most of the time. And unless there's, there could be a discrepancy in the turnover margin. Maybe that's probably making up some of that distance.
That's probably likely a lot of it. I mean, as you know, Justin and I were talking before the podcast, and this was first quarter of tonight's game. And the Celtics already had 3 turnovers, and there was 5 minutes left in the first quarter, and you've already got 3. Like, what's happening? What is really happening? And a lot of it just looked like sloppy throws or errant passes, so to speak. I said sloppy throws. I think I've been talking too much football. But errant passes, so to speak. But you know what I meant. But errant throws, and then just in general, the Heat have been stifling whatever Boston has wanted to do. So that begs the question, and Kev, I'm going to throw this one out to you first. Do changes need to be made in the offseason? Does Boston keep the core of this team as it stands right now and believe that they can progress?
See, I want to try to avoid being too reactionary here. I see a lot of folks on Twitter calling for Joe Mazzulla's job right away. I would let that sit for a while, to be honest. I'd maybe wait for the offseason, play that out. We did mention it's a first-year head coach, so there's going to be some growing pains. If you have a really good candidate that you think just fits what you're doing better, I can concede that, because they got put in a very unique position with Ime having to leave and everything. I don't think anyone in the franchise was really, or in the organization, was prepared for that. So they had to make a quick decision, but I think they still could work things out. And as far as the core, I scoff at the idea that Jalen and Tatum can't win one together. Now, I don't know how long they'll be able to keep everybody together contract wise, but I think that they could retool what they have and immediately still be a top 3 team in the East and be ready to make another run in the next year's playoffs. I think some moves need to be made, but I think they're more piece moves, add to their rotation. But I will defer to JP, the expert here, and see what he thinks they should do with the team in the offseason.
It's going to be hard to keep 2 players, especially with the luxury tax contract, $6 million. I mean, not $6 million, but $600 million. Jaylen Brown made the All NBA team, so did Tatum and all that. So they're going to be looking for like that big old money contract extension. Jaylen Brown's contract expires next year. If they end up trying to re-sign them and everything, that's you just asking for like a big contract and all that, and you got to figure out different moves. I would try to find I try to explore some options for Jaylen Brown. I don't think he wants to be in Boston. I thought he would, because I really defended him when they was thinking about giving Kevin Durant to Boston and all that. But you could just tell with his mood and his language and just his body language himself, he looked like he just doesn't want to be a Celtics. So you got to like figure out ways to get him traded. Grant Williams, I mean, at first I was like, we should be able to keep him and all that. He had a nice beginning, and then he kind of just went out of the lineup, or he's not playing and he's just committing some turnovers. I mean, you might have to, he's going to be a restricted free agent, so he might end up leaving. You still going to have Tatum, Brogdon, Horford, Smart, Williams, and White. They're all under contract through the 2024-25 season. Sam Hauser too as well. You got to figure out about Peyton Pritchard. You might end up trading Muscala. So they got moves to make and all that to see how they can still contend as a top team in the East and everything. So Brad's definitely got to make some changes and all that. With Joe Mazzulla, I hate that he got thrown into the fire as a head coach. Unfortunately, after Ime Udoka got suspended, then fired and all that to this team and all that. He just shows me that he's not ready to be a head coach in some games, and especially playoffs too as well, that he's not ready to be a head coach. Not just because he's not calling timeouts and all that, but like, the adjustments, and he just look like he's just, he needs more time and all that. So if you get rid of him, even though they took the tag off him as an interim coach to a head coach, we don't know how long the contract is and all that after he did it. So if it's just for this season, you might just have to just not give him the head coaching extension and go find somebody else. You got valuable candidates out there like a Nick Nurse or a Monty Williams, and if you're thinking about bringing Doc Rivers back, I mean, you could possibly do that too. But you got worthy candidates over there, that you can coach the Boston Celtics and all that. So they got like a lot of different things, and it's going to be a long off season for the Celtics.
Yeah. Kev, anything you would add to that?
I like that. I do agree with JP. There are a lot of good candidates out there. He named 3 of the best ones that I think would be, Nick Nurse is someone that I continue to expect. I expect to see his name more frequently than I do. I continue to be surprised that he doesn't have a job. So I have a feeling that this might be the year. Monty is interesting to me. I would love to know more about what has happened in the Phoenix locker room, because we all know some of this stuff, right? Things did not go well with Ayton. He was one of my favorite Indiana Pacers for all of 30 minutes and ended up back in Phoenix. But then it still didn't go quite well. And, you talk about, maybe in a different way, Monty may have lost that locker room along the point. Maybe not everybody, but it became a locker room divided. So that being said, a lot of players really love playing for that guy. A lot of people have nothing but great things to say about Monty Williams. I think maybe a fresh start and a new scenery with a talented roster like that could be just what he needs, and that could be a great reload right there, because it again makes it a little bit easier when money's tight to add valuable veteran free agents, because they know they're going into a good situation with a winning head coach. So I think of those, I would say Monty would probably be the one that intrigues me the most.
Okay. Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. I like the options. We'll see what happens. I'll also say this, and this is not that Doc Rivers is not a good coach, but I continue to be amazed at how many opportunities Doc Rivers gets. Continue to be amazed. But hey, if you like it, I love it. All right. Sorry, Kim. Didn't mean to send you in stitches there.
No, I just wanted to hit the retweet button. I was like, yes, it is. It's like I could hear the unsolved mysteries theme. Like,
I mean, it's just one of those things where, again, I'm not saying that Doc Rivers is a terrible coach or anything else like that, but the amount of opportunities he gets, the amount of times that his name is brought up as a viable head coach. I think Doc certainly has his shortcomings there, but it has not stopped him from getting considerations at all. At all. So, hey, I think Doc is probably going to be coaching, probably longer than Pop has been coaching at some point. So it'll get there. All right, cool. Anything I didn't ask about your Boston Celtics that you feel like people should know, Justin? Like, I know that this is not their best effort, I would think, but are you optimistic about next season? Like, do you have things that you're looking forward to seeing from the team?
That is a good question. I'm just interested to see, especially like if they're gonna keep Mazzola as a head coach. The thing I also forgot to mention is losing Will Hardy to the Jazz, because he was definitely a really good offensive, assistant and everything to be able to help with Boston's offense and all that. But yeah, I'm very intrigued in terms of the coaching. If they're gonna keep Mazzola, if they have enough faith in Mazzola, or like he's gonna be out and then whoever's the coach is gonna be in. Intrigued to see Tatum's growth too as well, because we talk about how inconsistent he's going to be and all that. And I said before the season that he would have to be like on his A game, and he has been, this season being fourth in MVP vote and then being in first team all NBA and everything. So I'm very intrigued to see his growth, because every single year he improves in so many different categories. He just has to just take easier shots, and then he'll definitely be unstoppable to me. I'm just interested to see, like, if we able to still be one of the top teams in the East after having such a breakdown against Miami. I'm just interested to see if we could still be a top 5 offense, because our 3-point shooting has been good in the regular season. Top 5 defense, if we can bring back the defensive identity like we did last year. So I'm just interested to see, but it just really depends on what changes. I think Brad Stevens is a really good GM president. He has like the Celtics on his post and all that. That could be another person that could get into back the coaching, could be Brad Stevens himself, but we just have to wait and see. But he always has a post or an answer that we all are looking for. We definitely need more of a big guy too as well, because I don't trust how healthy Robert Williams can be. Al Horford, we don't really know if he's just going to end up retiring or he's going to play one more season. We just have to just wait and see with that. So there's a lot of lingering questions, though. I think we still can be a really good team. We got to see what we're going to do in the draft. If we do end up trading Jaylen Brown, to see if we could get somebody in replacement of Jaylen Brown. There's a couple of players I'm looking at, like the dude from UCLA and some other people that could be in replace of Jaylen Brown to bring some shooting and some defense too as well. So
well, in that case, I have a question for you, because I've heard some rumors that Portland is going to shop that 3rd pick to try to add another star to Dame. Does that interest you at all? Potentially a Jaylen going to Portland in return for that top 3 pick if he's going to be moved?
If it depends on the player, it really depends on the player. If whoever the Celtics is going to pick and everything. So if they do want to get Jaylen Brown to Portland, I think that would be a good move and all that. Because you could put him, Dame, and Anthony Simons. Those are your three scores and everything. And then if we end up getting like a Brandon Miller. I mean, I would definitely take a Brandon Miller 3-and-D guy that could fit perfect, for Boston. But it's interesting, but we just sometimes we just got to be careful with the picks and all that. So
Right.
I'm very intrigued. I've been hearing, that somebody was like, "You think you want to have like a Damian Lillard to Boston?" Yeah, no, I'm not really interested at the moment and stuff, because I love Damian Lillard as a player, but I don't think he'll fit well with Boston and all that with him and Tatum. But who knows, who really knows? But it just really depends on the player that they're looking at and they're shopping with. So it really depends.
I'm shocked here. No Dame time in Boston. So, man. All right. I'll leave it alone today. It's your show today. I'll leave it alone. I'll leave it alone. All right, cool. So let's move on to the last portion of the podcast. So this is called the post-game presser. So basically, this is the portion of the podcast or the show where you get to ask us questions. They could be sports related or not, unreasonable opinions or not. We will happily answer them like, hey, you don't want Damian Lillard in Boston. We'll answer those. We'll talk about those. So what you got? What you got for us?
My number one question, favorite basketball movie?
Oh,
Ooh.
that's a good one. Okay. I think I know my answer, but Kev, I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay, now this is kind of unfair because of where I grew up, but it's Hoosiers for me. Because I grew up in a small little southern Indiana town. I popped when you were talking about Larry Bird being your favorite. I have a Hick from French Lick t-shirt in there somewhere. Also, I grew up worshiping at the idols of Bird and Reggie Miller, as a young Indiana boy. So, yeah, but it was Hoosiers for me. I think I remember getting the special edition DVD with the sleeve and everything as a kid. I watched they had the tape of the original game in black and white and everything. You could watch it. It was fantastic, but kind of a cheating answer for me.
Not in black and white, Kev. Ooh. Ooh.
Oh yeah, don't watch basketball from the 50s. Don't do it.
All right, so I'm gonna go Coach Carter. Yeah, I'm gonna go Coach Carter. I started to say I can't even remember what the name of that movie is, but the movie where is it Like Mike? I think where Little Bow Wow was in that movie and he plays Calvin. I was gonna say that initially, and then like Coach Carter like pumped into my mind. But yeah, Coach Carter is a phenomenal movie. Samuel Jackson is amazing. Yeah, that movie could come on now and I would watch it like I've never seen it before. It's that good. So I'm gonna go Coach Carter.
He was behind the game when it comes to transition 3-pointers, though. Remember?
He can definitely be the perfect coach. He would definitely be the perfect coach for Ja Morant. He'll definitely be.
I was not expecting that. I think he was going to be running. He would probably have Ja Morant running to the baseline.
No, you don't do stuff off the court. Laps now.
Man, that's good.
Man, yes. My basketball movie. It's really tough though because I watch a lot of basketball movies. Coach Carter's a great movie. Hoosiers a great movie. I'm nostalgia because Space Jam. I always thought the soundtrack and the cartoon and everything. White Man Can't Jump, the original, not the one with Jack Harlow because I haven't seen that yet. But the original.
Don't worry, you're not missing much. It's fine.
Yes, thank you. Because
okay, good. I didn't have the heart to watch it. I can't.
I haven't watched it either, but from everything I've heard, they were like, "This was a nice try."
So just the original cast with Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes, their chemistry in the movie. I just love White Man Can't Jump. So that's an underrated basketball movie for me. So
that's a good question.
Yes. And then after what Jokic did yesterday, sweeping the Lakers, is he, because he just got the Magic Johnson trophy, are we going to say him or Giannis as the best basketball player right now?
You want to take that one first, Meg?
Oh my gosh, why would you do this to me, Kev? I thought we were friends.
I can go
I really thought
first.
we were friends.
I can take it.
Best basketball player right now, like this season. Am I clarifying this season? Like when we say right now?
I would say right now, just overall, but I mean, this season, I mean, MB won the MVP though, but he kind of, Jokic should have got it, but I digress.
So let me say this:
Voter fatigue.
I'm such a big Giannis fan, so that is my gut is to say Giannis because I love his game. I absolutely love him off the court as well. But I feel like Joker has kind of cemented that he is the best player right now, especially with this series. Like, and I say that because I don't know if you remember that, but someone asked Giannis about, hey, was this season a failure, right? And he has this great quote about like, hey, every day we fail at our jobs. Like, doesn't mean that our job's a failure, that we're a failure, things like that. But season happens, they lose in not great fashion. Your coach gets fired. So now it's like, okay, and he didn't play up to his standards, right? Like up to the standards that we know that Giannis can play. So I think, if I'm comparing it to what I saw this season, what I see right now, yeah, I have to go Joker. I think you kind of have to, based on, what is the guy averaging? Like 30 points a game? Like this is insane. Like he's averaging right now at minimum a double-double. And I would almost beg to say nearly a triple-double every game that he's played in the playoffs. So yeah, maybe it's Joker. I don't like that answer though. I really don't.
You can't win with this one. You really can't. I mean, I'll say Giannis is clearly, he's the better defender. Jokic is the better perimeter shooter. I think I agree with a lot of what Meg said, so I won't repeat much of it. So what I will add is, yeah, the shooting and the playmaking for me, I think is really what makes Jokic stick out, because he does so, and it's weird because Giannis can do a lot of these things too, but it was so unique to sit there in the Western Conference Finals and you're watching the Nuggets resort to a two-man game, and it's Jamal Murray posting up Schroeder in the paint, and Jokic is bringing it up, and then they're running pick and rolls and stuff but he's running the point. And then if they get the right matchup, Murray's going to flare out to the corner, and then okay, now Jokic has Schroeder on him in the short post, and it's like, all right, that's game over. But then he can also, if the double team comes, quick flick of his left wrist, and it's going across corner to a wide open shooter. So, and then I saw some of those two contested spin moves from what I call Tracy McGrady range, like that just inside the 3-point line where it's like the most difficult two you can shoot. And he's just hand in his face, fall away, looking like Dirk Nowitzki putting the ball behind his head, and it's just nothing but net. Those little, just a 1A and 1B is what we're talking here. But give me Jokic by a hair.
Those are great points. It's tough for me too because I don't really know if I'm gonna say Jokic.
He's like, Giannis. I don't know, but I'm gonna ask you guys.
I'm gonna ask y'all because I was just trying to get something. I'm still gonna say Giannis just because he plays both sides of the ball and everything. Jokic has improved as a defender, so I give him a lot of credit and all that. Now, Giannis don't do like those flashy passes or the IQ that Jokic has than Giannis, but Giannis is so impossible to stop. If you don't build a wall around him, how are you gonna stop a guy with his length to drive into the hole and everything? The only thing I kept saying about Giannis is if he just become a better shooter, like at least like a decent shooter, that it's teams that have to like game plan against him. I mean, he'd be unstoppable. He used to have a really good mid-range game when he first came into the league. Then he got bigger in size and muscle, and he just lost his touch and everything. So if he could just develop that shot, even though he's trying his best, and then if he could stay decent into the free throw line, I think Giannis is going to be impossible to stop and all that. Now Jokic has just been phenomenal with the triple doubles that he's been putting up and all that, winning that MVP with the Denver Nuggets being the 6th seed without a Jamal Murray and a Michael Porter Jr. Just phenomenal what he has done. The PER ratings just off the charts and all that. But right now, I still say Giannis. Now, if Jokic wins the championship this year, I mean, he might end up in that top 2 spot, at least in that top 2 spot with Giannis and Jokic, and that's just going to be a battle of like which one you think is the best, though. So I got to see more Jokic to see how far he could take this team in the finals, whoever he faces, which most likely is going to be the Heat. And if they win, it's going to be like, a really good debate of, if Jokic is the best player in the world.
Oh, yeah, I love that. I love that you were able to break it down, but I also love the fact that you were like, yeah, I don't know this answer, but I'm definitely asking y'all. I love that. All right. What else you got for us?
My last question, top 5 athletes of all time.
Okay. So I might have to go pull this because I actually, for those of you who don't know, I'm in school right now and I had to go. I had to actually do this for a for a class. So that's the crazy thing. Let's see. I wanna open up my my list I did for a while because I want to make sure I didn't like miss anybody. Let's see. I know I've got it here. Kev, I'll let you go first because I know I need to find.
I've only got 3 so far. I'm thinking this one through here. I'm gonna go a little off the wall. So for the record, I'm going with just sort of like some of the greatest athletes. I'm gonna try to. There's gonna be a lot of 2 sports guys in here, because stuff like that really impresses me. So let's see. And you know what? Man, I'm just gonna throw this one. Okay. All right. Here's my 5.
All right.
Bo Jackson, number 1. I think if he hadn't gotten hurt, the tape suggests that he might have been the greatest, maybe the greatest running back ever, and he could do amazing things on the baseball field as well. If you've never seen him throw someone out from the outfield like that, a cannon barely begins to describe it. So give me Bo Jackson. In that same vein, I went with Deion Sanders, just because he also was a 2-sport athlete, played the sport at a high level. I've got MJ in there because that's my favorite, best at his sport growing up. And then, I've got to have LeBron in here, and I had a tie because this is my 5th one, got a little out there. So we're going to go with Hakeem as 5, but I have an honorable mention for you guys because this won't make it to anyone's list. Mm-hmm. Former Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and New York Knicks point guard Charlie Ward, who also got drafted into Major League Baseball. One of the greatest athletes of all time. Maybe just didn't pick the right sport to end up having being a household name.
That's a good
one.
One.
I'm not mad at that list. I'm really not mad at that list. All right, so I had to go pull mine up because I want to make sure I didn't forget anyone. Gotta land this a little bit. So all right, so number 5 is Tom Brady. So number 4 is Serena Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Kev's like, ooh.
I forgot about solo sports. Sorry.
Yeah, number 3 is Michael Phelps.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ooh.
So number 2 is actually Michael Jordan for me. And number 1 is actually LeBron James. And the reason why I have LeBron as number 1 is not necessarily for his on the court accomplishments, but more so for his off the court accomplishments. To me, his philanthropic efforts are something that are a sight to behold. He continues to do that. His schools, his partnerships, his sewing back into children from his hometown, from Ohio, like that is unmatched to me. Absolutely unmatched. And not that these other athletes don't do it, but I feel like to continue to do this on such a big platform, he always elevates those children, always elevates the folks that he's connected with. And I love that absolutely about him. I'm so glad you asked that question, Justin, because this was actually it was part of an assignment that I had to do for school. So side note, I'm in school right now for sportscasting. And and yeah, like we had some crazy debates about this top 5 list or whatever else. And it's just funny to see what people like, consider top 5, athletes of all time. And one guy was like, he's like, you put Tom Brady in your list? He's like, he can't even run fast. And I was like, but he's got 7 rings. Like, what are we talking about here? So it's just, again, everyone's like definition of what is an athlete differs. So I think it's, it's really cool when you get into these debates. Yeah.
I like that. I like the athleticism that you put off, Kev. I like the impact and everything that you did, Meg. So
tough, right?
my top 5, because like it's so hard. It's really so hard. I will say that I do have Michael Jordan and LeBron, so we all can agree that we have Jordan and LeBron in the top 5.
Okay.
Muhammad Ali, just
Okay.
the impact, and also he was like really fast, and he was cocky and everything, but like you watch the tape of him knocking out different opponents and all that, the Woman in the Jungle with George Foreman, and then winning the titles and all that. Like he dominated the boxing war like for decades and everything. So Muhammad Ali, and then also his impact in boxing and off boxing ring too as well. Like his impact is just unbelievable. Bo Jackson, I mean, just if he didn't get hurt, we'll be talking about like the greatest athlete of all time. Just being able to play both sports, like Dion did it great too, but just being able to play both sports, baseball and football, and just was just unbelievable. Like if you haven't watched any Bo Jackson clips, if you're watching this podcast, please go watch Bo Jackson. I mean, this dude had a Nike commercial saying Bo knows this, Bo knows that. You could tell he was a wonderful, wonderful athlete. So I couldn't really I had to do him or Sandals. And then my 5th one, I was kind of like, oh, what one I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go Serena, but then Babe Ruth definitely gets an honorable mention though, just because of his contributions to baseball and his impact on baseball. But Serena Williams, just how she just dominated tennis, individually, like I mean, there's nobody like Serena Williams in my lifetime that just dominated that sport and winning so many like Grand Slams, Wimbledon's. I mean, there's nothing like Serena Williams.
I'm glad to see that we all kind of have like a mix of each other's list, which is really cool. I'm glad to see Serena landed on your list. And I'll also say this as a person who grew up watching Venus and Serena Williams. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little salty that Serena overtook Venus at some point because Venus was my favorite growing up. She's the main reason I started watching, tennis. It was really good to see representation like that in tennis. But Serena is just. There are no words to describe that kind of domination. So yeah, I love to see the ladies getting a little bit of love there on the list. So cool. Well, all right, Justin, that was a really fun podcast, which I enjoyed it. I hope Kev enjoyed it too, because we've been talking a lot of football and that sort of thing, and basketball is his first love. So I was like, I got to get my basketball guys on here to chop it up with us. So thank you so much for coming on, and tell the people where they can find you on the internet.
Yeah, you can check out my YouTube channel. It's just JP with the Z. Put out some content, and I'll do some shorts too as well. You can find me on Twitter, JP Franchise 57. I do Hoop Spaces. Shout out to Chris from Hoop Spaces. They be on the Daily Show on Amazon, on the AMP and everything from Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Sometimes I'll be hopping on and talking, or I'll be in the comments just doing something. And they also have a YouTube channel, Hoop Spaces, so definitely check that out. Because I'm the YouTube coordinator for them. And also just check me out on TikTok. It's just I think it's at Justin Paden 57, and then also I have my other YouTube channel, JPTalksCeltics, Talk Boston Celtics, content all the time on there on Twitter, TikTok, and on YouTube. So follow me there, and definitely shoot me a follow, and we definitely can connect.
Awesome. All right, Kev, where can people find you on the internets?
All right. You can find me on Twitter at KevNevick_. You can find my content with the other fine folks over at Bite Size Sports on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. That is Bite-Size Sports. We have live shows every Tuesday, right after this. Actually, if you want to go listen to some NFL talk, I got 3 of my closest friends there. And I'm also every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern talking NBA and college basketball. So check us out. And I know otherwise, make sure you're here at 9 because that's where I'll be on Tuesdays.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And you can find me on Twitter. It's at the Megan Hall. Same thing on Instagram, THE, and then Megan Hall, my name. You can also find me, of course, on YouTube. It's YouTube/@ Hall About Sports. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Of course, tell a friend. And that's how that works. And because we like to do all the things, TikTok, it's Hall About Sports Pod, POD. Finally, you can find all of our updated content on hallaboutsports.com. Kev and I will be back next week to talk more sports. We'll probably just switch it around. Honestly, we're trying to get some golf, some hockey, like we're covering all the things. And so I know I've been educating myself. So if you haven't seen my hockey comments from last podcast, you should definitely go check that out because I've been learning. And I also learned that my friend is a hater. He doesn't want me to be great and be a Dallas Stars fan. So enjoy that. But of course, you've been listening to the Hall About Sports podcast with me and with Kev, where the sports are real, the sounds of the game are real, and yes, the stories are real too. We'll see you next episode. Peace out.